Fantastic. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to see you all this evening. Um, I am Miss Piercy, Laura Piercy. For those of you who don't know me, I am one of the associate directors of LeSwap. And part of my responsibility is around pathways, UCAS, careers, these kind of things, which is one of the reasons that I'm speaking to you this evening. And your young people will see quite a lot of me over the next few years. I'm going to do this presentation. I'm going to run through the whole presentation first. There'll be time for some questions afterwards. If you have any questions, you'll see there's a little chat function at the bottom of the screen. You can see two little speech bubbles. Please put any questions in there. Likewise, if there are any issues around sound or anything, please do mention in there. And I can hopefully address it for you. So let's get going. So the focus of our webinar this evening is medical school. It's medicine and adjacent. So medicine, dentistry, veterinary science. I am going to start off by talking predominantly about medicine, and that's partly because the others are all linked and share a lot of similarities with medicine. So I'll go through that first, and then I will also talk about dentistry and veterinary as well. So why are we talking about this now? Might seem very early. We are, less than one term into year 12. But just like I said at the Oxbridge version of this last week, there is a lot of prep expected for a medicine application. It is different in some ways to an application for any other university course. Firstly, the medicine applications use the early entry deadline, which is the 15th of October. And they have a lot of preparation expected, as I said, to go along with them. Partly that is due to nearly all medical schools, assume all medical schools, because it is nearly every single one requiring a UCAT assessment, which is done at the end of year 12. So that has to be planned, booked, and prepared for. Work experience should be considered mandatory as part of any medicine, dentistry, or veterinary application. You need to have time to find that, to book it in, and to do it. And the applications themselves have to be quite carefully constructed and carefully put together. So you might be watching this now thinking, I'm not really sure if I am going to be a medic. I don't really know whether I am going to go ahead with it. But if you start the application now and you change your mind later in year 12, no harm done. But it is pretty much impossible to get to, say, June of year 12 and then try to put one of these applications together. You just don't have enough time. So it's better to do it early and decide not to do it than to try and do it at the last minute. So key facts are the application deadline is the 15th of October. The reason that that is important is because it's different to the main UCAS deadline, which is the middle of January the following year. So if you're applying for any other course, biomed, biology, chemistry, blah, 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 your application deadline is the January of year 13, but medicine is that many months earlier in October. And the application has to be completely done and submitted by then. And if you miss that deadline, unfortunately, there's no exceptions. That deadline is very, very it's stuck to very, very closely. There's also a pre-assessment called a UCAT. As I said, assume that you will have to do that, plan to do that, plan to take that. You should also expect to have an interview. One of the reasons that medicine, dentistry, and veterinary use this early deadline, the 15th of October, is because they interview so many candidates. They just can't get it done in the time frame if they use the January deadline. So it's to give them that bit more time. Work experience, as I've said, mandatory, should be expected. And this must be reflected in your personal statement. So you have to have time to have done the work experience and to be able to write about it. And really important as well, I'll bring this up a few times, you have to be prepared as a medic or a dentist or a vet to move anywhere in the UK as part of your application. There aren't very many medical dentistry or veterinary schools in London, not very many at all. So if you are a serious candidate, you do have to be prepared to move to whichever medical dentistry or veterinary school best fits your grades, your UCAT score, and your profile as a student, including how much work experience you've got. So there's a lot of kind of research to be done, and a lot of careful thought to put into this. This is going to be your main resource. This is a fantastic website, medschools.act.uk, fantastic website anyway, in terms of a repository of information. And this lists all the entry requirements for all the medical schools in the UK. So this is going to be the main place that you go to find your information. If you do want these slides, by the way, I'm not going to go into all the links because I don't have time. But if you do want a copy of the slides, my email address is at the end of this presentation, and you can email me and I will send you a copy of the slides over so you can look at the links in your own time. Uh, as a bit of a summary, then, I'm going to talk through the kind of not just the application process a little bit for medical school, but a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of some other things that are important to know as well, including this: just how competitive is it? So there is a cap on medicine places. It was lifted during the pandemic, but it's been put back in place now. So there are just over 7,000 places available for UK medicine applicants every year, and about 500 for international applicants. It's in the UK, obviously. And 24,000 people applied to study medicine in 2024. So that gives you a sense of how competitive it is. Of those 24,000, about 3,500 of them were reapplicants. That means that they've applied once and either not got in, usually, or not decided to take their place for some reason. Usually they've then gone away and done like an extra year of work experience and whatnot. So those applicants tend to be very, very strong. So you're going up against sort of 21,000-ish, 20,000-ish applicants who are in year 13 applying for the first time, and about 3,500 applicants who've probably got that bit more experience. So again, something to bear in mind, given that there are 7,000 places available. Subjects that are required for medicine. So nearly every medical school, other than Newcastle, all set some form of subject and grade requirements for people wanting to study medicine. If you don't meet the subject requirements, you're going to be rejected. So do not apply to any medical school for which you do not meet the requirements. So for example, for 14 there, you have to have biology and chemistry. So if you only have biology or chemistry, you can't apply to those medical schools. You have to look at the other ones. This is what I mean about researching the medical schools very carefully early on. So you're making sort of long and then short lists of the ones that work best for you. Newcastle don't have any set requirements, but they're still not going to take a student, who's studying humanities or art subjects. They are still going to be looking for students who study STEM subjects, but they don't say that you have to have a particular combination of biology and or chemistry. Although without biology and or chemistry, I don't believe that you would be offered a place. In terms of grades, again, all medical schools have a minimum grade requirement. They are nearly all set at AAA. That's by far the most common. There are 3 medical schools with lower entry requirements. That's Kent and Medway, Hull, York, and Buckingham, which are it says 2 there, but there is AAB and ABB, but there's actually 3. Because that's slightly out of date, my little graph. And the highest is Cambridge, possibly unsurprisingly, which has 3 A stars as the required grades. So again, as you work through year 12 and you're looking at what your predicted grades are, you are definitely aiming for those A's, preferably at least 1 A star as well. But there are a couple of options. There are those 3 options if you have one subject that is slightly lower at a B grade. However, please don't forget about your GCSEs. Most medical schools, all except 3, have actual specified GCSE requirements, and these are often overlooked. This is usually around maths, English, six or above. Some of them also have a science requirement. But again, do check, because if you don't have the GCSEs that they're asking you for, then there is no point applying to that particular medical school, because they won't consider you. They have so many applicants, they're not flexible. So it sounds quite brutal, but it's good to be kind of prepared from the off. So we have subjects, we sub A levels, we have A level predicted grades as entry requirements. The third thing that you need to pay really close attention to is the UCAT. So the UCAT is a test. It's taken at It can't be taken at school. It has to be booked and taken at a test centre. And it's taken in the summer between year 12 and year 13. You will need to sign up to the UCAT website, so you find out when registration is available. The best slots book up quite quickly, so it is worth booking your UCAT as soon as you know that you're definitely going to take it. You'll get your results before the 15th of October deadline. That's really important, because different medical schools put different emphasis on the UCAT. So some of them say you have to have a minimum of this score. Some of them say that they consider UCAT really strongly. Some of them say that they aren't so bothered about it. It's a lower priority. You will need to, once you get your UCAT score, you will need to then shortlist your medical schools based on your UCAT score. So if you get a really strong UCAT score, then you've got lots that you can apply for. If your UCAT score is average or a bit weaker, then you might have to take out applying for schools that have a high minimum. One thing to know at this stage about the UCAT is it is not a science test. There is no science or knowledge or fact-based learning that can be done for a UCAT. It's an assessment of thinking skills, thinking abilities, comprehension, decision-making qualities. So you'll be given scenarios. You'll have to choose from a multiple choice of what you would do in that scenario. You'll be given passages to read. You will have to summarize that passage. It is about those kind of qualities that they're looking for in a medical professional. It's not about what's on the curriculum. Because of that, you have to revise for this test. It's not something that can be done blind. It has a lot of questions. It's quite stressful in terms of you don't have very long to answer each question. So it's really important that you get in the habit of answering it. We recommend that you do probably about 6 to 8 weeks of UCAT revision before you sit the UCAT. So again, you don't have to start it now, although it can be worth having a look and getting some idea of what it's like. But as we move towards the UCAT period, then knowing that you're going to need 6 to 8 weeks revision will let you decide when you book your test. You will also have an interview. Again, just assume that you will definitely have an interview as part of medical school. Excuse me. They are conducted from December through, so now basically all the way through to April of year 13, because the interviews are quite long, and it does take the schools quite a long time to get through them. You can be called in at really short notice, so do be prepared, and you'll probably have to travel. And there are two main types of interview. By far, the most common is what's called an MMI, where you have like a series of little stations that you go around, where at one station you might have a traditional interview where you'll talk about your personal statement. At one, you might do some role play. At one, you might be given a little task to do. So it's rather one interview. It's a series of mini interviews. And a few universities still use a more traditional panel style interview as well. But you will need to research and prepare for an MMI style interview. One thing that's one of the trickiest things I think about a medicine application is that you have to have work experience. It is essential. I would say that if you don't have the work experience, you shouldn't put the application in, and you should instead take a year to get that work experience, rather than, because you won't be interviewed without it. The reason it's so important is because these medical schools want you to really know what being a medical professional, being a doctor or whatever is like, so you can make an informed choice about whether it's the right pathway for you. They want you to have a proper understanding of the role. They don't just want you to be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get 3 A's. Being a doctor sounds cool. They want you to actually have some sense of what it will be like. They don't want you to drop out during medical school because it's very expensive for them. Uh, they so they want you to understand the doctor's role. They want you to understand the NHS and the NHS values and how it works. They also want you to prove that you can manage your own time and you can commit, which is why there is so much emphasis on voluntary work as part of work experience, and voluntary work that's actually nothing to do with medicine. They really want you to have two types of work experience. They want you to have some clinical, so directly observing healthcare, so working in a hospital or working in a GP surgery or something like that, what you might think of as traditional medicine work experience. But equally important, they want you to have they want you to have done some voluntary work, and voluntary work can take all kinds of capacity of forms and be in all kinds of capacities. The best examples are ones that are in a caring or service capacity, so things like working in a care home, working with vulnerable adults, working with children, working in food banks, things like that. These are all things that are kind of regarded very, very highly, and the best candidates, as I've said, have a combination of both of these types of work experience. And where possible, your voluntary experience, so your care or your service work experience, should be fairly regular and something that you've done on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly basis over a few months. Your clinical experience isn't going to be like that. It's probably going to be a one off. But the other type you can do over a longer period and really show your commitment to that. So we are partnered with the Royal Free at the Swap. So we do offer via the Royal Free some really high quality clinical work experience. That doesn't replace the voluntary or caring work experience that I've just talked about. And that is something that students have to arrange and sign up for themselves. But we do help students to get that clinical work experience because we know it can be difficult. And our doctor partners from the Royal Free will be coming into the swap in January, towards the end of January, to do an introduction session and for students to sign up. So there will be more information about that when we come back after the holidays. At this stage, then, what else can you do to get an advantage if you're thinking about applying? Well, high predicted grades, the first one. Obviously, predicted grades are taken into account. You must talk to your teachers and start talking to them now. Let them know that you are an aspiring medic, and let them know that you are aiming for those high grades so they can give you, work that will really push you. If you're doing an EPQ, that can be beneficial. A few medical schools, I think it's about 6 or 7 of them, can lower their entry requirements by 1 grade if you've got an A or an A star at EPQ. So that can really help. And several others state that an EPQ is beneficial. So they take it into account in a more holistic way, although it doesn't affect the offer. And a high quality personal statement, which we will work our way later in year 12, but it's worth thinking about now because the work experience you do, the supercurricular learning you do, will all go into that personal statement. So start thinking about that now. Start keeping a kind of a log of any research or work experience and stuff you do, so you don't forget about it when you come to write it up in 6 months' time. So that's a kind of very whistle stop tour through medicine. Just to then talk briefly about dentistry and veterinary because they have so many similarities. The process is very similar. It's the same deadline. If you're applying for dentistry, you're going to have to sit a UCAT. The interview style is exactly the same, and the entry requirements are almost identical. So all that is the same. The interviews for dentistry do require physical dexterity tests as well as academic tests, so something to think about. A slight difference is around work experience. So dental schools do want you to have work experience, but they are quite flexible because it can be very hard to get work experience in a dentist. So they can be a bit flexible about the type that they expect. If you can, amazing. If not, then then follow the guidelines basically for the medical work experience. For veterinary, they want really extensive work experience. And again, that's something that you need to start thinking about now. Uh, they will need at least a week of practical experience, often more than that. Some have 140 hours requirement, and half of that needs to be clinical. So, again, in the same way that medicine, you are looking at both voluntary slash caring and clinical experience. For veterinary, you are looking at clinical, which should be in a vet. But your other work experience could be husbandry type work experience. It can be it could be working with pets in like a grooming capacity. It can be working on city farms, things like that. But there is a high requirement of clinical work experience. So, and it can take some time to arrange. So get on that as soon as possible. Just like the medicine one, there are two key documents here with all the entry requirements in for vet schools and dental schools. So again, something to have a look through and start narrowing down. The entry requirements, as I've said, are quite similar. So you might be looking at this now and thinking that is those entry requirements are really strict. It's really high, and they are. A like A's and A star grades, really, really challenging. Um, if you are wanting to do medicine or dentistry or veterinary, but you don't think you're going to quite make those grades, there are a small number of what are called of foundation or what are sometimes called gateway courses. So instead of being a 5 year, this is a 6 year course. They do have very limited numbers. And along with that, some of them have very strict criteria on who can apply for them. So, for example, some of them are only open to young people who live in a particular area. Some of them are only open to young people who qualify for free school meals, or you're the first person in your family to go to university. Um, a couple of gateway courses do accept BTECs, but they nearly all need chemistry and or biology A levels alongside the BTEC. So there aren't very many options for BTEC students in terms of medicine. These are just a few examples of different medicine gateway courses. There are 14 available countrywide at the minute. These are the kind of grades you're looking at. So ABB at King's is probably the highest, BBC, Bristol, and Keele. But as you can see, they need to include biology and or chemistry. Some of them are open to certain schools. For example, Bristol is open to partner schools. All the LaSwap schools are eligible for that one. At King's, you have to be a state school applicant. So obviously, LaSwap schools are applicable. Edge Hill is only open to students who currently live in the Northwest. Keele is open to applicants who meet contextual requirements, for example, eligibility for free school meals. The Medic portal has a really good list here of all the foundation courses available. And one thing that is worth bearing in mind is that there is only one gateway course based in London, and it's that King's College one. So if just even more so than other medicine, if you are thinking of applying for gateway medicine, you must be prepared to travel, to go anywhere in the country that you are able to get a place. There are two dental schools that offer gateway, Leeds and Manchester, and three vet schools that offer a gateway, Bristol, Nottingham, and RVC, which is based in London. RVC is incredibly competitive. That's the one that has the highest work experience requirement. So if you are a gateway vet, and you are hoping to apply for RVC, please do check the requirements there. So support, there is plenty of support available. It sounds quite daunting. It is a difficult application process, but it is incredibly rewarding and obviously incredibly worth it. And you are applying for one of, if not the most challenging sort of undergraduate course available. So it makes sense that the application is not going to be easy. So we have in-school support with statements and with applications. We have our Royal Free link to help out with work experience. We have representatives from Imperial and from City St George who've been into school or via our link with Camden School for Girls have done joint sessions for us and for Camden on things like the UCAT and applying and work experience and whatnot. Wider than us outside of school, there are loads of free or very cheap webinars, conferences, and workshops that come direct from universities via the Medic portal, via PopMed, on lots more websites. Some of these have been in the LaSwap newsletter for the past couple of weeks, the Get Into Medicine and Get Into Dentistry conferences, which are free and are a really good place to start. I would recommend signing up to all of those and getting involved with as many of them as possible. The UCAT website itself has past papers, sample exams, and there are also plenty of guides to MMIs, mock interviews, videos of interviews, things like that when you get to that stage later in year 12. Please do beware of any online work experience courses, especially if they come with a big, massive bill, a charge. Please be aware of anything that costs loads of money because they are often not accredited and they are run by private companies. I'm not saying they're no good. I'm sure some of them are very, very good, but the cost for them can rack into the hundreds, if not thousands of pounds, especially for the residential ones, and they're not necessary. So if you are looking for online support, online courses, if you're unsure about anything, then please feel free to email me and run it by me, and I'll have a check into it for you and see if I think it's worth doing. And just a final note on how to prepare at this early stage. So start looking for work experience as much as you can. You can't have too much. So more, overload yourself. More is better than none. Do plenty of research, get on those entry requirements, get on those websites as soon as you can. Start making short lists of your preferred medicine, dentistry, vet schools. Organize them, from your best to worst in terms of your preference, and you will need to long, medium, and shortlist them. Visit the unis if you can. Look out, again, sign up to the university via the website, sign up for information about open days. Um, think seriously about a backup course. So through UCAS, you can apply for up to 5 courses, except when you're applying for medicine, dentistry, and vet courses, you can only apply for 4, and the 5th one has to be something else. People often go for something like biochem or something. You don't have to, but people often do. But there is that opportunity to have a backup course there if you want one. Seriously consider at this stage why you want to do this and be really honest with yourself about medicine as a career. There's lots of online stuff to help you out with that. If you can, again, another good thing about work experience is you can talk to people who are really doing it, and they can give you that an insight that people like me just can't. Go to as many webinars and workshops as you can. Start now. Register with UCAT. Book it as early as you can. So you get dibs on the best places. Another note on UCAT is you do have to pay for it. It's £70 this year. If you are eligible for sixth form bursary, you can get it. You can sit your UCAT for free. So again, look into how to do that in plenty of time. And you've got to be really proactive and self-driven to succeed in this and to get a place. So it's not something that you can do by waiting until, as I said, until June and then thinking, oh, maybe I'll apply for medicine. It's something that you have to be a real self-starter and really driven. But we are here to help you. So do ask. There are lots of people at the swap who've got experience with this, and lots of people who can help you out. As I said, myself, heads of years, also speak to your chemistry and biology teachers. They are often in a really good position to help you out with medicine information as well. So a little bit of a timeline, all of year 12 work experience and obviously working hard. June, book your UCAT, sit your UCAT, July to September. And then in year 13, ignore what it says about BMAT there. There used to be an assessment called a BMAT, but it doesn't exist anymore. So personal statement ready as soon as you come back at the beginning of year 13. Use your UCAT score to finalize your choices. Application in by the 15th. And then off you go until the end of the year. So there is my email address if anybody wants to take a note of it. I will just have a break for a sec. And if anyone has any questions, if anybody wants to pop any questions in the chat, please do, and I will answer them. Uh, and I'll also put my email address in the chat. I'll do that now. But if you don't have any questions, thank you very much for joining us. And you are free to to go for the evening. But do please, as I say, get in touch if there's anything you do want to ask. Okay, so a couple of questions. How important are your GCSE results? So they can be quite important. It varies, as I've said, medical school by medical school. You'll need to check with each one individually. Everyone is going to expect you to have sixes in maths, English, and probably your sciences. But some of them will have other requirements on top of that. Some of them score your GCSE results. So they will, if you've got mainly eights or nines, for example, they will give that a score. If that you have mainly sixes or sevens, they'll give that a score, and then they use that to decide whether to kind of rank your application. But again, it's done university by university, so that is one that you do have to check. Assume that it will matter, but it will vary depending on the medical school, and that will help you choose your medical school as well. Because if it's somewhere that rank that where GCSEs are very important, but your GCSEs maybe aren't quite that great, then maybe don't choose that medical school. Is UCAT for vet at the minute? No. So UCAT medicine and dentistry. Fantastic. So looks like we're finished. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, and have a look. Oh, sorry, one more question. Do we have a vet contact? Do we have a vet contact the same way that we have Royal Free for Medicine? We don't, unfortunately. It is notoriously difficult to get veterinary work experience. And because are sort of smaller businesses rather than big institutions like the Royal Free, we can't have that kind of arrangement with them. So, in terms of veterinary work experience, that is something that students have to organise by themselves. We don't have those connections. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any more questions, please just do drop over to me by email. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you very much.